Fun.
Welcome to the Rugby Bits podcast. We're here to look at week 3 of the URC, all these rugby competitions happening around the world. We'll catch up with the news and everything that's going on. My name is Thala. I'm joined by Kooks today. He's back fresh from his trip to London. He had to stop, or he had to reject the box after party in order to go watch Liverpool Chelsea, and he feels fine with his decision, right, Kooks?
Abused a lot for missing it. Hi guys, good to be back. Yeah, chose Chelsea again over watching the Springboks. To be fair, Springboks won both those games, so maybe I might, just in case I'll be bad luck. But yeah, good to be back. What a vibe in London, and then yeah, sort of back to the URC, and then looking forward to heading up to France for the Box France game.
Yeah, I just got my tickets, so I'm also very excited to watch that game. I mean, for South Africans, the URC basically starts this week because we can now actually concentrate on it now that the rugby championship has stopped. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the teams and go through the match that happened this week, but mostly try to do we're going to do a tier list of the URC teams. So we're going to try to sort the URC teams out into 4 different tiers. Tier 1 is championship contenders, so the teams that we think are going to be really leading the title chase. Second tier are the teams that we think are going to be playoff locks. They're going to be in the top 8. We know they might even host a home quarterfinal. They're going to be in the mix there. Third are going to be the playoff contenders, so teams are going to be trying to get into the top 8 or just miss out or, probably get into like the last few weeks in contention for the playoffs. And then the last tier is the basement dwellers. Cooks, yeah. I mean, last year I think we had the Lions being a playoff contender. We had, obviously we had some abuse from fans about putting Ulster in the last tier. So yeah, we'll see how we sort everyone out. But let's start with talking, as we talk through the games, we can sort of talk about where these teams lie. And the only unbeaten South African team right now are the Stormers, and they won 34 points to nil against the Scarlets. This is the second time that they've nilled an opponent in the last 3 weeks. They reintroduced Sasha and Damon Williamson to the team. Evan Roos and Dixon are playing well. John Fourie, unfortunately, had to go off, but he was able to make his return as well. The Stormers are looking good, Cooks. And I mean, we'll talk about tiers later, but I mean, they've put themselves out as a serious team right now. Like, defense looks impressive. The forwards look really strong. You're going to have, I mean, I don't think the backline was as impressive on Friday, but because they were putting in Sasha and David Williamson, but you're going to have a good backline with the likes of Ron now and Wandi Simelane in your team as well. So the Stormers are looking, and this is the first time that they've started well as well. So the Stormers are looking really good right now.
Yeah, I think that's been the Achilles heel, just not starting well. But Tyler, I think for me, you hit the nail on the head is defensively they're outstanding, and that's been something that you look at the first 2 year seasons when they went to the final, and I mean one of them gone to the final. Defensively, they were very good. Yes, the Goof Troop gang, they had that in the locker, but you look at against Ospreys, they considered 7 points. Also, I mean, Leinster they considered 0 points. So that's incredible. 2 bonus points as well. And also what I love about them is they're finding different ways to win different players. And their depth has been tested early. We've got Simelane has played 15. Yuri Mateo's away. I mean, gutted for Dion Free. He came back and it was bench the weekend and tore his biceps. Looks like so quite a serious injury. But also now like. They get to integrate a Sasha and Damon Valusa back into the squad. There's still guys coming back like Dan du Plessis still gonna fight. He's gonna come back first 2 weeks, and obviously he's still gonna get eased back in. Imad Khan off the bench comes and adds more depth at 9. So I just think they are in a good place and they've signed nicely. And I'm keen to see when going forward, like with the Springboks, like with Reinach. I mean, I know you're losing Paul de Vet and replacing Kobus. Reinach has probably been the form scum off this year. That's for Springboks, that's a good place to be. But I'm just really, really impressed and different ways to win. They kicked a lot more on Saturday in those conditions there, which is unlike the way the Stormers have been playing. But they gain that balance right, which they kind of lost last year because they still have enough excitement, enough players there. They still have enough enough quality and enough skill and ways to rip sides apart. And yeah, and I thought they were fantastic. But the only frustrating thing for me is like, what is up with us South African fans and Sasha? Like, what do we like? This whole like he's arrogant and like like he had that pass that he threw like that one arm like that
Yeah.
the little float. Yeah, went backwards. Yeah, I mean obviously he wasn't like the greatest player of all time. Like obviously, but like, let the kid live. But like it's just so frustrating. And like so he wasn't. I won't say. He was decent on the weekend, but that's his norm. That if that's his decent, that's a 7 or 10 performance for most other tens. He still controlled the game this time, made a few mistakes, but again, that's him playing his first game for the Stormers in a long time with a new backline, and also like coming from the Springboks in a bit of a high, and then and sort of almost going straight into on a Tuesday playing but like we're just like on this guy's case, like they're saying it's Vulgar, the guys say like, oh, he's swaggy, like things are gonna catch up to you. I'm like, we don't want good things. I'm like, how can we have this prodigy and like all of a sudden we are on his case and attacking him for? We'd rather be like, I don't know. But Stormers is a hell of a start, Tyler. It does have that feel like they're sort of back to where they were. So I'll probably say 2 or 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
In
Look, number one. Oh, sorry, go on, Cooks.
like especially in terms of being up there with sort of we'll talk our tiers now and being up there with the top sides.
Yeah. Look, number one, Ron Nell's back. I think that makes a big difference to the Stormers team. Like they look a lot better and more organized defensively. They are, I don't think I wouldn't call it like a full rush defense, but it's just a lot of intensity and pressure that they are able to put. And Nell's just able to organize them, and they've been struggling with the 13 position. To get someone there. I mean, they've kind of played Dan du Plessis there sometimes. They've played a little bit of Similani, they played a little bit of Hotzenberg, but Ronald's still probably one of the best defensive organizers in the competition. And then the second thing is, and I think they are looking at the stats now, they're second in the URC for turnovers won. And I think Paul de Villiers has made a big difference to the Stormers. Like he's been the Dion Fury replacement, obviously with Dion Fury struggling with injuries and being 61. So Paul de Villiers has really set himself up as a player that can play at this level. He puts pressure in the rucks. I mean, he wasn't the only one making turnovers. I think Sasha got two himself. Nal got one. There's quite a few players that got turnovers all around, but it just seemed like there's more pressure that the Stormers defense is building, and they know, and I think that's what they've gotten away from in the last few years, is they have the defense where if they force a turnover or if they get the ball, they can attack and score tries from anywhere. They know with, Willemse and Sasha and Similani and whoever, like those players can score from anywhere. So they just need a chance. And like the defense is what can keep them in those games. So it's really good to see the Stormers really be back at like having a more aggressive defense, really attacking rucks and just playing from that. And I think the third thing is, look, we know how good Evan Roos is at this level. Like he's fantastic, but there's a lot more balance than is true. Like Roos is doing his role. Dixon has helped now become like that blindside flanker. We know like he's obviously Springbok levels, played for the Boks. De Villiers, I think, has filled in that sixth role. So yeah, you've got something there. My only concern is if this Neethling for sheer injury becomes a long-term situation. Look, shout out to Ali Mark, and he did a really good job in the scrums. And I mean, he's in his mid-30s. He's been doing this thing. Like him and Sazi Sandi started on Saturday, Friday, and they did quite well. And then you had the young props in Matongo and Porton coming through in the second half. So yeah, they still are battling, replacing, Kitshoff is obviously retired, and Herb has been injured. Brock Harris has finally retired. Now they've lost Neethling for Sheer. So you probably want, obviously, for Sheer to come back. You want Tunu to come back at some stage,
At
and
least
then
they've
they'll
got
have Neethling for the five.
but also the scary thing for them, I mean, like in a good way, is that you do have say Kunu and Oli Kebble to come back. That's two internationals. They're
Yeah,
gonna
I even forgot about Kebble.
yeah, and they'll make a massive difference. So that's, I think, for me, the scary thing with the Stormers is the fact that, because normally at this time, Tyler, like they'll have like maybe say like a few odd injuries, a few niggles, but they'll find themselves like 0 for 3. And then by the time the guys come back, now they're gonna do that the classic Stormers run where they win 6 or 7 in a row, and then they find themselves in the playoffs. Where now they've set themselves nicely because even if you look like even with Sasha and so Damien back and they can still get stronger. But like and their scrum is gonna get stronger with those props coming back. And then next year they get Volko coming in as well.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Like they have recruited well. I mean, Reynolds hasn't even been part of this team yet. Like, and I think all of their players have improved. Like they're non-BOK players. Like we know what they do in terms of fixing players from other unions. Similani now looks like he's back to where he was. Matia, I think, was really good the first 2 weeks. Matongo, we talked about him last week. He's been really good at prop. So, if everyone just sort of contributes their part, like they don't have to rely as much on Williams and Sasha to do things. And yeah, I think things like, their lineup looks really strong. They have 94% success rate. They've obviously had their issues with that before. Fenta and Kooks are throwing in well. Their locks are just so strong. If Ruben van Heerden's playing off the bench and you haven't even started playing Salman Murat, like you've got a really good team there. So I guess, Cooks, my question is, I think there'll probably be maybe 3, max 4 teams in the championship contender spots. Are the Stormers one of them?
Yeah, I think so. I've actually got 5 teams in the championship spot for me. I think you already said like I mean the gap isn't as big as you'd say for like other leagues, but like for me I still got Leinster obviously defending champs. I wouldn't be surprised if Leinster don't lose another game for the rest of the season. Like she's like like people are talking about Leinster. I'm like it's not a fun place to tour South Africa. And you've got Stormers and the Bulls, and also if you are the Stormers and the Bulls, the best time to sort of play Leinster is the first 2 weeks of the season,
Yeah.
and the Bulls have Leinster sort of reserved back to type this weekend. But I still got Leinster in that as I still think that they the best side in the competition. Um, as the season will go, I've got the Stormers in there. I've got Munster in there. I think Munster's creeping their way in. Munster's back. That's Leinster, Stormers, Munster, Glasgow,
Bulls.
Bulls. Yeah, I got the Bulls.
Yeah.
I think that's my 5. I think for me, there's like they will kind of lead the charge. And I think there isn't much between sort of Bulls, Munster, Stormers. I think Glasgow. I still think will be very competitive. I think they've shown the last couple of years have obviously constantly been a top in. I mean, having been to a final and obviously and having won it. So I think Munster looks like I mean like coaching change and they've started the season well. We know like Munster doesn't lose from about March to April. We know the Munster run, so they've also seemed to start well. They had a bit of a dip last year. Um, so I think for me it's that 5. Like, and I'll throw it have 4, but I just think those 5 are going to be hard to separate. I think for Leinster, the most important thing for them this year, a home playoff will be very, very key for them because as you've seen now, I think it's going to be very hard to travel down to those sides and get a win.
Yeah. Especially if they have to go to South Africa. Like
Yeah.
for the European sides, and I guess the opposite for the South African sides, like you want to be top 2 so that you're not traveling too much for
Mm.
quarters, semifinals. Like maybe one time for a final, but not too many places. But look, I mean, the Stormers, even on their stats, they're fourth for the URC in their lineout. They are top 3 in the scrums. They've won the most scrum penalties so far. And that's been basically with just Neethling for Sheehan and Damien half for Sheehan in this third game. So a lot of things are looking really good. They're top for kicking as well. So yeah, like things are really coming together for the Storm. They've been really impressive. And yeah, so they're 3 wins from 3. They've got Zebre and Benetton in their next 2 games. So they could stay in Italy actually for the next 3 games. So that will be quite nice for them. I guess the goal for them is there's no reason they can't go 5 out of 5, but at the very least 4 out of 5, just at least set themselves up. They've done 3 away games and they've faced Leinster already. That will be, yeah, a really strong position for them for the rest of the competition. let's go to the next a team I think we both will agree are title contenders, and that's the Bulls. And they had their first loss this weekend, 28-7 to Ulster. Yeah, I mean, obviously they also were trying to add back their Springboks, so the likes of Vokolo and Jan-Hendrik Wessels came back into the team. We had Andre Pollard make his first start for the Bulls in ages, coming back into the team. Kenan Moody was at center, which meant that David Creel was back on the bench. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen from like a bit of Bulls Twitter, there's a lot of unhappiness with the changes made to the team, and maybe that sort of destabilized them because not that the Bulls were great in the first 2 weeks. I think they were a bit spotty, and the defense has been a problem. But putting someone like David Creel on the bench is a problem. And I mean, this is going to be a big talking point, I think, for the Bulls for the next few months is, who plays at 13? Where does Kayden Moody fit in, and where does David Creel fit in? Because for me, the best Bulls team has to have David Creel. And what that probably means that the national team coach might have a difference of opinion between him and the franchise coach, because that might mean Kayden Moody has to play wing most of the time.
Yeah, I think well, Batella also you mentioned like even like the Jan Hendrik Vessel's conversation as well. I think you mentioned a few weeks ago like where is Ackerman going to play him because Groby's play him and hooker, but it's Groby's there, then Steenekamp is also there. Obviously, maybe we can find a way to do both, but yeah, the 13 one is a tough one because you are benching David Creel. You're probably benching the Bulls are benching their best back probably in the last 2 3 years, with him and Ambrose, and I think if you're going David Creel and say, for example, Moody at 12 and 13, it kind of feels light. Because I mean, I do feel like there is a reason they brought Jan Serfontein back, sort of get more beef in that 13 and last year. And I mean, Jack White and Ackers, and when he's used David Creel, he's used him at 13. So that's the question you got to face is which direction you're going to go. But I agree with you. I just don't think that the baseball side, it has to have David Creel in there. And it might just be a situation where he plays wing for like, but again, but Moody kind of feels like he needs the reps at 13 because now he probably does look like he is the Springboks' second choice 13.
Yeah.
And the more reps he gets, the better he'll be there. But again, like if you put David Krill 14 for the Bulls, he's wasted the way they play. He's better at 13, and they need him at 13 to get more touches on the ball. And the Bulls like why I still think they're a contender is their depth. But I think what could get in their way is their depth because of those questions that they're gonna figure out. I put Moody at 14 and David Krill at 13. If I'm the Bulls, I'm getting both players on the field and doing what it means to get both players on the field. Unless, oh geez, if you put Krill at 14, you're almost using like I see they try to use Seb de Klerk as a little bit of a playmaker. That first pass he threw for that first try, yo, teaser. You see, like David Krill hits that pass, but I think you have to have Krill 13 and Moody at and 14, and that's the best way to have those two players on the field. But the Bulls can't have a situation where Krill's playing 22. Like, as it's a weird thing to say, but like Moody, yes, he's been cooking for the box at 13, but for the last 2 years, like he's not been as good as Krill has been for the Bulls.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Bulls fans would definitely agree with you. Like, I don't think that's even a contest. Like, just David Creel is just such a good footballer, and the things that he does in terms of, being pretty much a playmaker and a person that can bring other players into the team. That's what he is really good at. But yeah, I mean, I think what was disappointing is that the Bulls did have scrum dominance, obviously, especially if you have Steenkamp and Vokolo playing together. That's going to happen. Like they were like the forwards had that as a platform. Ulster, I think, conceded 16 or 17 penalties in total in the game, and the Bulls just weren't able to build anything from it. Like weren't able really to put anyone into position with that. None of the forwards really were able to get like momentum and carries from that. And then the second half especially, like it seemed like Ulster really were able to just control like where the game is, like how the game's going to go. And yeah, that's I think going to be the concern for the Bulls is, you have to be able to score the points. Like you can't just score the points when you're in Loftus and you're sunny and you have like the
Mm.
ability to win at 40, 50 points, which has been the weird thing for the Bulls the last 2, 3 years. And Ackerman's kind of continued this is at Loftus, we play like, prime super rugby and are trying to gain 50 points and probably concede 45. Then away, we'll go to Europe, it's 10-man rugby. And not saying that they must throw it around there, but like there has to be a bit more of a balance between the two approaches. And yeah, I mean, it's not a quality thing. That team was good enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can talk about maybe where Ulster fits into this conversation because this Ulster team looks like the Ulster team of old.
Mm.
Like, you know, obviously everyone's fit. I mean, I don't know when's the last time we saw McCloskey, Hume, and Balakoon on the same field at the same time. Augustus has now sort of
Phew.
replaced that Newland role, and he was fantastic on Saturday as well. So I don't know. Maybe this will look better late in the season. The Bulls have just lost to a better team. But my concern, and apparently this was also a concern in the WhatsApp group for the Bulls, because Dr. Strauss was shouting about the defense on the group, and yeah, there's some story on SA Rugby about Johan Ackerman saying, "Well, families always fight as well." So there is some growing pains with adjusting to Johan Ackerman
Yeah.
at the moment.
And also, like I think with the Bulls, I'm like, well, I'm not panic too much. Also, again, you mentioned quite a few changes. I mean, quite a few guys coming in and sort of slotting back in and going. Like Andre Pollard hasn't played for the Bulls in how long? It's his first game for the club. They've had a week sort of together, and also it's also just turned it on in the second half. When the game started, like, and yes, the Bulls made a few weird mistakes they don't normally do, and like it kind of the Bulls, and like I mean, the Bulls tend to sort of like want to have control, but it was weird the first half. Like they almost kicked way too much. I
Mm.
just want to kick, and you just like the Bulls like we're not gonna play rugby. Oh, I'm like guys, but like yes, you can still manage the game. Obviously, you got probably one of the best game managers in Andre Pollard, but I'm not panicking yet. I think they will get it right. Because yeah, because you're. I mean, also, but again, like that's the one thing we gotta figure out as well. Like with the Springbok schedule, because like some guys, I mean, it's a some guys are coming in tired from a long championship.
Oh, yeah.
And we play a test match, and Henrik is being thrusted in, Moody is being thrusted in. Andre spent all this time with. He also hasn't played since the first All Blacks game. So also, you know what I mean? Like that as well. Like he hasn't played, and then like Volko's been playing a lot of rugby as well as Springbok. So that does also factor. Now you got to like mold them into a new camp. So I'm hoping that was their sort of like you think it's their sort of baddish game or like just the one they kind of shrug off and go give themselves competition ready. But I think the Bulls, they've shown it, they've got enough quality. And I think also they probably decide for me, the SS side, probably the most built to go a little bit deeper in the Champions Cup.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a deep squad. Like, you have someone like Monray Smith, who is a very serviceable tight head, being like your second or third best tight head. You have Akafana that can still come back into this team. Like, Jathan Heerden didn't play this in the starting team. Ronald Keir wasn't there, and you still have Corbus Visa and Nicholas Janssen van Rensburg at lock. Like, there's so much depth. Like, Arba's being used well, Gomet is being used. Jean-Jay Rudolph, I think, had a pretty good game. Yeah, so there's depth aplenty in the Bulls team. Like Portervet also got a run out this weekend as well. It looks like Devin Williams might be out for a bit of time, so that probably means Villaroo is going to start these games, the next few games. Um, yeah, I think the concern the Cooks is they're not going to get chance to adjust. The next two games are Connacht and Glasgow, and obviously Connacht you're battling the wind. And Glasgow is obviously a very strong team. So it could be 2 wins and five. And I don't think the Bulls want to be there. They know that, if I don't think you can lose more than like 2 games if you want to be above Leinster. Because
Yeah.
like you said earlier, I don't think Leinster is going to lose probably any game until the end of the season now. So if you already lose 3 games and five, that's going to be a mess. Like I think this Connacht game, they need to win. Like
Yeah.
it's almost a non-negotiable.
And the mega statement win, I think, which they can do against Glasgow.
Yeah, they can. It's just obviously Glasgow, like you were saying now, they're probably as good as any other team.
Well,
And, you've
especially
also
at home.
now moved the Lions back.
Especially at home, yeah. And yeah, that's the thing with them. Their lines are sort of coming back as well. So especially at home. But I mean, like, I think it's a good segue because I mean, like, who do you have in your sort of in that championship bracket?
I would probably disinvite from your group Munster. Yeah, Munster for sure. Glasgow, 80% like, okay, I'm fine with them. Look, I think for Glasgow, I mean, they've had a pretty decent start so far. Obviously, they're now reintroducing all of their big players from like the Lions, stuff like that. They beat Dragons 49. No, of course. I think for Glasgow, losing Tom Jordan is going to be a talking point for this season. Like they did get Lancaster, and he's a decent fly half. You've got Adam Hastings, your favorite player, but Jordan just fills in so many gaps for them. So this means I think someone like Josh Mackay is going to have to do a lot of work there at fullback. Kyle Steyn might even have to go back there as well. But yeah, I think for Glasgow, they go as far as number one, Seun Tuipulotu carries them, and number two, whenever Zander Ferguson comes back as well, just to help just fortify the forwards. Like they also have a pretty deep team that can really go far in the URC. It's just now, okay, like losing someone like Tom Jordan, especially for the back line and person that can fill in at 10 and 15, like where does that sort of put you? So I think the likes of, Lancaster have to step up and Mackay have to step up in order to just make sure that that gap isn't full. But, they obviously were champions last season. They've, apart from obviously losing surprisingly to Benetton last week, they're two from three. They've beat the Sharks, they beat the Dragons. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they host the semi-final. I mean, host the quarterfinal at the very least. But yeah, I think Leinster's obviously in, the Bulls are in. The Stormers have played well enough in these first 3 weeks that I have to put them in. Glasgow, I think, will probably be in, but yeah, that'll be interesting to just watch now for the next
Yeah.
few weeks. I think those are my top four at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I can see the sort of I think for me I still think I think I'm be surprised if the Stormers back in the top two. I think if I had to predict now, obviously I think I can see being Leinster Stormers, I've got Glasgow at three, and then sort of Bulls at four, and then I also probably got Masters as probably that fifth side there. Um, I just think Stormers again, like at home, they're also very good down in Cape Town. Glasgow, I think you Tyler, you're right that some big losses there, and I mean Dan Lancaster's got massive shoes to fill because Tom Jordan has been very good. It was Munster, we see how we go, but I think if you look at the next sort of category, I think it's sort of like probably the next sort of guys who will be in that quarterfinal berth. Like I've got Munster, so sort of fifth, Ulster. I think Ulster's gonna be in there as well. And then like
It's tricky for now.
I think it's tricky now because is Benetton gonna finally be in the mood to do good things? Like all those guys, Benetton pisses me off. I think Cardiff's gonna be in that mix as well. I think I got Cardiff in probably in that seventh spot. And
Yeah.
then I think I've got Benetton in there. Sharks, you are no ways. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Like the Sharks probably like I think they can get in at like eighth.
Yeah.
Um that's my that's, I think the Sharks are like squad well. But again, Tala, it's the same old, same old. I think they've got the Sharks are Sharks biggest issue now. Wow, I think they might just miss out on the playoffs and probably come in the ninth or tenth is the fact that I just think that the depth wise in certain positions being stretched. We don't have if Siamosu goes down, we just don't have tens. Jaden Henry's like nine, isn't playing as well. And then like we're dealing with like there's Cecil Orson, there's other nines that we tried and they're just sort of not gotten the job done. I just worry when the Springboks aren't there, there is a bigger gap. In the weekend some guys got added back. But I just think when the Boks aren't there, that the gap is and I just think we can't I feel like it's the Sharks of 2 years of 2 seasons ago. The
Mm.
like a certain places. Not the one last year we maybe managed to get to, you know, eighth, first, I think we got fifth. I think now I just don't think I don't know. Like I just think like we need to find a flaw off when like I don't understand Jordan Henderson's there and Siamo Suga's there, but also like Siamo Suga also he's also not playing well. Like John Smith for me that doesn't look ready yet. Then when I give him time, you're like, yo, I just think there's a lot going on in the Sharks at the moment. I just think like they're going to be the side for me that goes from the playoffs last year and gets out. So I'm gonna go with Benetton in eighth place. Those are the four for me. Like Ulster, Munster, Cardiff, Benetton the next year.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Sharks first of all. So they lost 31 points to 5 against Leinster. They are still winless. They've obviously now was the end of their tour. So they lost against Glasgow the first week. They drew against the Dragons. They were lucky to actually escape that game with the draw because Glasgow really, I mean, Dragons should have really taken a drop goal at the end. I mean, Leinster, obviously, a few of their internationals and Lions were back. Not the full squad, to be fair. And, it was just an outclassing between them and the Sharks. Like, I think what was concerning is, like you said, Cooks, obviously, this is a team that needs their Springboks. But last year, the Sharks were able just to find wins. Like, we were talking about it every week. Like, they play like 60 minutes, the worst rugby ever. They play good for 20 minutes and they somehow get wins. And they got what I think it was like 12 out of 16 wins or
Yeah.
11 out of 16 wins. This season, I don't know if there's a difference. It still looks like the same kind of guys. I think actually they've recruited well in getting people like Matanzima and Marvin Ori into the team just to help that tight five look strong without Ox and Ebenezer, for example. You have another year of Hooker and Julius looking pretty good. You have Edel van der Merwe also helping out. I don't know about John Smith. Like, I'm still sort of uncertain. The only thing I know is that he's the oldest 22-year-old I've ever seen in my life. Like, he just looks a lot older than 22 years old. But it's just not really happening for the Sharks at the moment. Like, it doesn't look like they can get as much from like, I think they've obviously, I don't think they really are working in attack. Like, they're just not able to get points. Like, they've only scored 41 points in 3 games. So that's obviously a big problem. They've only obviously played in Europe for so far, but like, I'm not sure where they get the points. I mean, literally, Harry Byrne had to gift 5 points to the Sharks this weekend with that intercept. And their defense, Leinster was just picking it apart. And considering that the Storm has shut that out, considering that the Bulls, I mean, they got 30 points against the Bulls, but like, they were able to keep them out when it mattered. For Leicester to just be walking through them like they did, that's not a good sign. So we're again at that point of, okay, maybe then when Esterhazen and Itzebeth and those people come back, it becomes a different team. I think though, Cooks, they have to be one of the top 8 teams. They just are too good. They'll get 12 games, hopefully if they're not injured, from Kolisi, Itzebeth, Ox, and Easthazen, and that makes a big difference to the team, no matter who's the 10 and no matter who else is playing in those other positions. And they might be lucky that now, with just how the Springbok squad is moving, they might get more games from Koch and Mapimpi and
Bongi.
Hendrickson, Bongi Monambi as well. Then not Bongi. We don't have a hockey yet. Bongi, you're gonna have to play those Japan games, those Wales games. Don't worry, buddy. So they'll get a lot more games from like Springbok stalwarts. Like, there's something there. I just am, and yeah, you're the Sharks fan. I'm not sure what John Plumtree is cooking. I don't see really an identity in attack. I don't see much of an identity in defense. It still seems like it's individual quality that sort of bails you guys out.
Yeah, I think I feel like we've had the same conversations for the last 3 seasons, for a while
Yeah.
now. Like yeah, you're right. Like you still don't know what it is we do. I mean, the scrum was good in the weekend. Like our scrum has been good for the Sharks for a while. But again, that's the quality but like you still don't know what we do well. Like you wake up because like you're all right, because of the dog. Like with the Sharks, the frustrating thing for me is like even you sometimes just don't know which Shark side's gonna rock up. Like, even the Boks are there. Like sometimes we win by 40 points. Sometimes you go, okay, cool, we got this game against. I mean, I think it was last year against the Scarlets where it took a Sia Kolisi like in one of a virtuoso basically for us to win that game, and you think to yourself like that's what it kind of feels like with the Sharks, where it's like yeah, and like you said, you mentioned you get 12 sort of games. I think so. But like I got a feeling like for me, like the virtuosos might come sort of more like in the Champions Cup.
Yeah.
I think, but it's just frustrating because like yeah, you're right, like the quality is there. But again, like one thing we've seen, I think we've learned the URC as we go into like what season 5 now of it, is you have to the depth was like you gotta get others there, gotta find ways to win rugby games for you and
Mhm.
get momentum when your top guys aren't there, and which is what the Leinsters and the Bulls have, and those stars are able to get right because you are right. Like the Sharks, they might sneak in because of maybe the I feel like there is a gap at the moment. So if you go from like Cardiff to the rest, and the Sharks are probably the best of the rest based on number, but if they're starting the way you're starting. You're not getting a situation where you're like, okay, cool. Like now you sort of like you played 8-1, lost eight, and you're scraping for like sort of that's scraping for like a 1 pointer. That's what I worry about. And I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be a fight. I think, out of those two that we mentioned, for me, is Ulster and Monster probably the safest then at sort of 5-6. And then it's anything from Cardiff to anything happens where you've seen, but the Lions are not going to be there. They, the goal lines are not going to be there. I don't even want their fans to get excited. Don't even get excited. Don't
No,
know.
they basement dwellers. They are in that group. Like we're not even. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
even debate about
My
that.
Lions are here. I can't wait to get to them. You are those guys. You are, yeah, yeah.
Just quick stats on the Sharks. Like, yeah, best scrum in the competition. They've won 25 scrums. They haven't even lost one. They've won the third, or say, second most penalties from their scrums as well. But yeah, then that's the only positive basically. Line out is 12th in the competition. They have 80% success rate in their line out. That's obviously not good. Their discipline's not great. They've conceded 34 penalties in 3 games, so that's over 10 a game. So that's a problem. Kicking has been weird. Like they only retained 15 kicks, so maybe like the likes of Hawker and Mapimpi help with that. And then, like we said, attack has been not great, and their defense also has been eighth. They've made half of the turnovers that the Storms have made in their 3 games. So yeah, it's just another thing of like, and they've lost someone like James Fent, who's basically their like main turnover threat, and he's gone to the Prem. I like the Chituka and Motelezi combo, and obviously they played Hatton this weekend at 8. But I'm just not sure where the turnovers come. Like they almost have to work on either being big dominant tacklers so that they can create turnover ball, or they have to obviously get turnovers on the right. I just don't know where the Sharks put pressure on teams in order to get turnovers. Like obviously they do a big rush defense, but in a lot of the Leinster tries, the likes of like Hooker or Julius or whoever was on the outside, they were like lost at sea because Leicester was just able to draw people in, and then they have like a 3-on-1 basically up wide. So yeah, there's a lot for them to work on, and we'll have to see if the Springboks help it. They come back home at least, so I think they play Ulster actually this weekend, so that's a good sort of measuring point for both Ulster and the Sharks, and then it's the Scarlets before the November games. Yeah, I mean,
They have to beat
and
Scott. They have to beat Ulster. See, that's the thing. Like
yeah,
Sharks are already like on have to win it. Like they have to beat Ulster.
yeah.
And
Well, 0 out of, well, yeah, it's two, it's a draw and 2 losses out of 3. So they need to get 2 wins from these next 2 games.
sure, I don't know. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like again, I don't
It's,
know.
I mean,
The Bucks can come back this weekend, most probably like organized. But like, but what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? Like, I don't like that's the thing. Like, again, as much as I back the individual players and we have, like the frustrating with the Sharks is, I think like once the Sharks go back against the wall, we need to go and run. Then it's on sheer force and grit, and then the guys find ways to win 4 or 5 in a row. But I just think sometimes like the start's gonna catch up to the Sharks.
yeah, they remind me of like Chelsea teams in like the late 2000s, early 2010s, like when you won those Champions Leagues, basically where
You
you're
find the manager.
horrible in the league.
Yeah,
Week to week, Di Matteo vibes, like you can't do anything in the league, but when the big games come, the big players play and they get those wins.
yeah.
So maybe the Champions Cup really is your way out of this. Cooks the Lions. Yeah, it's not looking good in Joburg right now. Let's start with their jerseys. I don't think there's been enough smoke for their jerseys. They are absolutely terrible. They need to burn those things, throw them away. It doesn't
Away,
work for them.
away jerseys, yo. That is, there's a lot going on there. There is a lot going on there. The home
Whose
jersey,
idea was that?
well, the home jersey isn't bad considering what the wages. I think the wages he carries, like, it's that bad. You just wear something white and red, and it'll be fine for the home jersey. Yeah, it's just not a fun place to be. It's frustrating for the Lions, especially like the junior setups. Look, I mean, they on a 21 in another Currie Cup final. On the 19s, I think we lost the semi. But like, and obviously they lost the Currie Cup final. But in the junior setup, but like once Cash Money Millionaire, whoa, involved. I just like Tala, I just think the Lions what is it? Like, what are we doing here? Like
Yeah.
that's what I feel like with the Lions. I'm like, what are we doing here? Where's the go forward. The last few years, it's kind of if it's feeling like the teams before it's feeling repetitive. At the start of the URC, they were basement dwellers, and then it's gonna go then they go to 2 years where they just missed out on the playoffs, and I think with the 1 year they didn't qualify for the Champions Cup, but they made the quarters or something like that, and then last year again, house sort of like a house on fire, kind of then phased out at the end. That's the frustrating. And then now and also like now they like the experiment to like obviously get the Currie Cup guys back in, get game time, and the frustrating thing with them and Reynolds they are also they hit badly by injuries.
Mm.
Um, but it's just like where are we going here? Like you know what I mean? Like it's like I don't if they do find a bit of form, you just know the dip's gonna come. It's gonna come back somewhere. And yes, they lose players and they became players. I thought Chris Smith would be a big massive buy. I mean Angelo Davis as well. But like it's just like you need them to sort of go I just thought by now they'll be in that way where Cardiff is. I think it'll be better than Cardiff. Like they're like with
Or Zebra even.
Zebra, like they're like with like what you call it, with like where like Benetton or like where's Ulster, man. Like just being closer, sort of pushing those sides in and just sort of middling out there. But like it's just frustrating. Like it frustrates me to talk about the Lions.
Mm. Just don't know what the solution is. Well, okay, I have one solution. I think it's overs for like it's not working for this coaching staff, or at least for Cash being the head coach. Like the performances, like last season, like we said, it was going up, but now it's going down. Like that's why even with that Currie Cup loss, I just come back to it. I'm just like, you can't do that. Like especially sort of 2 seasons in a row, especially playing the Brickworks, all that sort of stuff, especially playing the URC team. But recruitment is also not helping. And this team was not far off what their best team is, Cooks. It's not like they're missing too many
Mm.
players. Like, you know, Morley van der Berg was back. Frankie Horner has come back in the last 2 weeks. Like, that's their first choice loose trio. Kabakani is starting, and, obviously because of the situation, we don't know how many games he'll have this season. You have Van Dijk there. He's fit. You have Frankie Horner. I'm sorry, Frankie Horner and Quan Horner as well. Like, I'm not sure what they do, but it just doesn't look strong enough. Like they're the only scrum that's not in the top five in the URC from the South African teams. Like all the other South African teams are they're chilling in the top five. They're 13 for their scrum.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not like they just aren't able to keep like the props. Like they really like the Sharks. Really, they should give Rondre back to them. Like just as a start, for example, like set piece isn't really working for them. Like the lineouts at 10, the scrums at 12, like it's not really working. Like They just don't have the ability for their forwards. And then the doesn't really seem like the backline is doing the Lions things that they usually do. They're lucky. I don't think they'll be bottom of the log because they're lucky that Joburg will give them wins. Like out of their 8 or whatever home games, they'll get at least 4 from like tour teams coming to tour down here, just because they're playing in Joburg, just because altitude and them being able to score 40 points is going to be a factor for them. But I just don't know where they're going. So they
But
are
also,
definitely
I tell like you mentioned, like the frustrating thing, like you look at it, like they got the Scarlets at home this week on Saturday, like that's a must win. But like you said, here's their problem. So Joburg, you said could get some 4-5 wins. They've lost 13 successive away games from home on tour. I've got the stat right here. Like you're not going to do anything from there. I mean, like
yeah,
if you're going, like I know that the Lions have lost, but you're 13 successive away games. Like
that's all right.
yeah, like yeah, 13 successive away games. Like you're not doing anything against it, and you you can't go anywhere for that. And unfortunately for them, is like in there. There's also frustrating derby losses they've lost away from home. They should have won away from home. Like, and they're gonna put like 40 points on the Sharks at home and be like incredible. Like, they've got to find ways to get those. And again, Tada, you've got Cardiff, Zebra, Benetton. Yeah, it is a tough tour, toughest, but it's not. It's one you take,
Mm.
and you're going like at least could get something in Zebra. Like at least if like to start off, like find a way to get a point because your next tour is not going to be as stylish as this one.
Yeah.
Where you're going
And
like
like I
maybe
said, we know with the Lions, Hinkel van Wyk is not going to play all 18 games. Like,
yeah,
unfortunately, he's just like he always gets injured. Like they're gonna miss. Ron Fent is also another one that doesn't play a lot of his games. Like yeah, that's already now your team's now at least 10% worse. Like Gabakanye, maybe the decision comes in and he's banned. Like the team just gets worse and worse and worse just as soon as you take away these players. And like the sad thing was they've retained and signed a lot of these players. I think
yeah.
the only player that's like in a contract dispute is Quan Ho. So you do have these players for at least the next year or two, but still we are still struggling to get any momentum. Like they're not being backed up also by the people in the office to get like just yo, even someone like Marcel van der Merwe, I think he's still playing the Pro D2. Like just get him back to Joe Burger just to make your scrum tight. Like just get players in for your squad because this is not going to be a team that does well in the URC.
No, I don't think so. Like you look at the other ones, so like I mean, I'm sure Ringo wants me to stop abusing the lines. Because you look at like Connacht, for example, like for me, I think Connacht and Edinburgh, I think they'll be in that, Zebra in that 9, 10, 11 range. Maybe if they do get it out, maybe push sort of like maybe push and see if they might steal a spot. I know Edinburgh hasn't won a game yet, but like you look at all the others, I mean like Dragons at 14, oh, good Dragons. Who won a game with Scarlets. Like, I mean, like the bottom three, that ends the bottom three. I'm not going to be surprised, but I'd like to say, like Edinburgh, like for example, like from time to time, like they do tend to find a bit of form, and they'll probably for me, but like they're struggling. Connacht, it depends on Connacht. Also, like they go through these runs as well, but like I think that's kind of how I see it going. Probably like yeah, Connacht, probably Ospreys, Edinburgh, and then yeah,
Yeah.
then
So I was gonna say my maths for this was okay. So the top four for me, like we discussed, Leinster, Bulls, Stormers, Glasgow. Then Munster. Then, like you said, it becomes you
Ulster.
can really okay. Ulster. Then go with Ulster. Okay, let's talk about Ulster quickly. Like all their players are good back now. Johan Augustus was obviously a great signing for them. I'm really excited for that. But we know we're not going to get Rob Balakoon for 18 games. We're probably not going to get James Hume for 18 games. Jacob Stockdale, someone that also doesn't necessarily play all these games as well. Like, we're going to get to that part of the season again when they're also losing players. I mean, Izuchuku, I think he might have got injured there by Gumede when he was getting in for that try, and Gumede like hit his ankle. I'm not sure what Gumede was doing actually. So, they really need those like senior players because we know like Ulster at their best can do things. Like they can like get far in the competition. They're not scared of Zach and tour. Like a lot of these players were the ones that really almost kicked out the Stormers in that season that they won the competition. But, are they their thing is only just injuries. That's the only thing that makes me a bit uncertain to put them in. But yeah, I think they've got someone in Jack Murphy, their number 10, who's really good. And he might also add himself into that Irish 10 debate very soon. And I mean, I think the last thing Ireland needs is another 10 to make this thing complicated because I mean, they're really trying to struggle with this Prendergast and Crowley thing. So yeah, I think that's my only like reservation. But yeah, I think they still look stronger than Edinburgh, the Sharks at the moment. And then we need one Welsh team, I think, in the playoff hopefuls like category. Yeah, I guess that's the question is it Cardiff or is it maybe Ospreys? I think the only reason I might go more Ospreys than Cardiff is Ospreys have Jack Morgan. That's my only argument for it. I don't need anything else. Jack Morgan is there. But it does look though that Cardiff is quite strong. They've won 2 out of 3. I mean, they lost their coach to the Welsh team, which is hilarious actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I think one of the two of those ones will find themselves in the top 8. I'm just not sure which one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. I think Wales will have sort of one side in there. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Cardiff. I think they were a great start. I mean, they seem to play better without their old coach who was meant to be their new coach, but now he's also gone. But anyway, I think Cardiff. I mean, last year they also had a decent season as well. So I think that they're about the only thing that's good in Wales at the moment, or some sort of positivity, and Jack Morgan who plays for Ospreys on his own. But I got Cardiff sort of in a player for Pulse. But this is a cool story if Zebra sort of keeps us up as well. I'd love to see them making sort of keeping this up as well. I think that's the story for. But like again, I think for me like the URC this season as well. Like I think that certain teams have gotten closer, but it's just yeah. But that from 6, 7, 8 is a lottery for me. Like 7,
Yeah.
8 is gonna be like I think for me like eight wins could possibly get you a playoff spot.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be really crazy. But yeah, I mean, look, we know, especially last season, URC basically there were 13 teams are still in it with like 2 weeks to go. So like it really could be anything can happen there.
Give
So
it.
yeah, I mean, I think with the other results, Cardiff won against Connacht 14 points to 8. You have let's start on Friday actually. Munster beat Edinburgh 20 points to 19. Like they also reintroduced a lot of their players. I think the big news there is Edwin Odogbo coming in. Like he's obviously massive and I think he just helps with them. But Munster this time of year, everyone gets injured at least for 2 weeks. So let's see what happens there. They've got Leinster next. That'll be interesting. Ospreys beat Zebra 24 points to 0. Glasgow beat Dragons 49 points to 0. And then you have Cardiff beating Connacht 14-8. Okay, Cooks, let's maybe try to land on these tiers. Let's put 4 teams in each tier. So we have with tier 1 being Leinster, Bulls, Stormers, Glasgow.
Yeah, happy.
Okay, so that's tier 1. Tier 2 then, Munster. Let's put Ulster there. I'm going to regret this. Let's put Benetton there. I know they're going to disappoint me, but
Yeah.
I still think the Sharks still sneak in. Like, I think they're better than Edinburgh. I think
Yeah.
they're better than Cardiff. I think they're better than Ospreys.
Can they find 8 wins? I think, yeah. See, the guys are gonna find 8. Just 8. 8, give me 8. And then we'll go to Ireland for the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Like, I think that's the sum for the Sharks is because it's 18 games in the URC, I think, for the season.
Yeah.
You probably have Sia and it's a bit for 12. Can you get to 8 wins with Sia and it's a bit when they're in the
And
team?
then College Rovers, Ozarks, there, can just Austin, just two wins.
2 wins. Yeah.
Yeah,
So when now late in the year, when like, the players being rested during the Six Nations and they're playing like the SA derbies, can the Sharks get at least like a win against the Lions, maybe like a crazy win against the Stormers with the Bulls at home, and that will just get them through. I think that's basically the sum for them.
yeah, I
Then
think
tier three, I guess, is Edinburgh, Cardiff, Ospreys, and Zebra. And then the last tier is Scarlets, Dragons, Lions. I've forgotten someone.
Scarlets.
So yeah, so tier one is Leinster, Bulls, Glasgow, and Stormers. Then the second tier is Munster, Ulster, Benetton, Sharks. Question mark. Oh, Connacht is what I forgot. So yeah, that's a weird one with the third tier because I think Edinburgh, Connacht, Zebra, Ospreys, and um, Cardiff, you can kind of argue for them. I think they are better than the Lions and the Dragons
I think so.
and Scarlets right now. The Scarlets just they don't have a pack. And because now they've lost their Tongans, they just have no physicality at all. So I don't know what. Yeah, they have a great back line. Like it's a fantastic back line. And I'm sure they might even beat the Lions this week. But I'm just not sure if they're gonna get themselves to the top eight again. Um, but yeah, I think the Dragons are still maybe not as good. Like I don't think they'll be like getting more than like a win something. And yeah, like we've talked about the Lions already. So yeah, I'm not sure. I guess between Edinburgh, Connacht, Cardiff, Ospreys, and Zebra, which team sort of drops out of that like last into the last tier?
I think Ospreys.
Oh, not the Jack Morgan or All Stars dropping down.
Yeah, I think Ospreys. Other than the bottom tier, I think Ospreys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so weird because Ospreys still have like pretty decent names. Never mind Morgan, they have Lake there. Gareth Thomas can do a job in the scrums. Like Dan Kasende was looking really good when they played in
Yeah,
South Africa as well. So it's they've got a team there, or they've got some parts of a team. But yeah, I'm really just putting my hopes on one guy to really just carry them into it. Oh, Ross Moriarty's also come back into Wales as well. Like I guess the benefit for the Ospreys is they've done their tour. So it's now
yeah,
just, can they get, like you said, I think if you want to be in the quarterfinals, how can you get yourself to 10 wins at least?
yeah.
And yeah, the thing is though, that's the funny thing with the Welsh teams. None of them dominates their like games. They always are like sharing wins amongst each other. They actually need to be like, okay, you're the team for us. You need to go forward. So Cardiff, we're gonna basically like donate all our wins to you.
Basically
But they
say
all
like yeah,
just beat each other.
yeah, exactly. Like Cardiff, you're gonna win all the derby games, and then what the rest of us will just try and help. Just like okay, you're gonna get upset against Ulster, one of you. Then one of you gonna target a game against the Shaw. Like that's what they need. They should all rally together.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's why they're trying to get to two teams now. Yeah, looks yeah, it's gonna. I mean, I think it's gonna be quite a crazy URC season as usual. Like, I think there's a lot of teams that are looking good, but yeah, the I think the big thing for in this competition is just trying to get to 10 wins, trying to sort of navigate your tours and making sure that that sort of puts you in the best position possible.
No, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just a few things. Storm's game was so testy. I don't know why Scarlets and Stormers hate each other. You had a yellow card for Sasha. You had a yellow card for Tame Plumtree. Sasha was fighting people.
Yeah.
There was on Blue Sky. I don't know if you saw this comment. One person said, talking about arrogance, that the last time we had an arrogant athlete like Sasha, they shot their girlfriend in the bathroom. And I was
Jeez.
just like, we just went, yeah. Everyone was
Yo,
just like, this escalated so quickly. So yeah, I think people are just going a bit too crazy about the Sasha thing right now. Um, I think, yeah, I think the other stuff is, yeah, Leicester's looking, I think the Leicester Munster game this weekend is going to be really like a big game. But yeah, in terms of the South African games, just to sort of go and preview them quickly, Connacht Bulls. The Bulls have to win this almost. I think they're going to win this on Saturday.
Yeah,
On Friday.
they have to.
They have no choice really. So
They have to.
that's going to be a
I think
goal.
they will.
I wonder though if for Connacht, if the likes of Bandiaki and if they sort of internationals come back. Because yeah, I mean it's almost now November time. Ireland obviously going to play in the US in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time. So they like the internationals need to have at least one hit out as well.
Yeah, but I think the Bulls, I think they'll get better a week. Well, if it's been a week, an extra week with the international. I think the Ireland, those guys will be their first hit out if they do bring
Mm.
them back. But I think the Bulls win.
Okay.
I'm confident the
Then the
Bulls.
next one, yeah, next one's Lions versus Scarlets. It's hosting at home.
Yeah,
I
what
don't
I'm
know who it comes.
yeah, derby of the winless teams. Who's gonna break? Yeah, it's so funny they draw.
It might
I
happen
think
actually.
I think Lions at home. No, that's
Yeah,
surely not. Not
yeah, Lions at home. Like that's the only reason I'm saying that. Sharks Ulster could be a very sneaky game of the weekend if Ulster gets everyone here. Um, Basically, Cooks is how sober are the Springboks coming back into the team.
oh man. Ulster wins. I think Ulster's gonna beat the Sharks in Durban.
I think you're too negative on these Sharks. I'm gonna say the Sharks win. Like
I think Ulster win.
they'll do a last minute win. They'll
I think
look
Ulster will go.
horrible for most
I
of the
think
game.
Ulster. Ulster seems to make a sneaky little semi push. So I think state backup Bulls go to Africa, get a massive win, bang, get the job done in the Lions, go back home again, 2 out of 2. Put
Let's see.
yourself right
Yeah.
up in that mix.
Then yeah, Saturday night, Zebre, the Stormers on Zebre. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how they sort of mix up the selections. Maybe someone like Reinach comes into the team this weekend. Yeah, Zebre have been good, but I think the Stormers should win this one, right?
This is like the potential of bananas tip the Stormers kind of sometimes find themselves slipping on. But I think if they want to sort of be in this playoff push, these are the way games, especially against Sabre, that you have to win.
Yeah. Okay. Then, yeah, I mean, apart from that, Cooks, I mean, Prem rugby is just going through like just everyone scores 1,000 points against each other. Finn Russell is continuing to own Gloucester at the moment. Like just came back and had a great performance against them. Like, but yeah, I think it looks like Bath is just way ahead of the competition. Like Saracens obviously lost against Harlequins now. I don't see who beats Bath at this stage of the competition.
They're flying though. I mean, Quinn's gonna win. Marcus Smith came back as well. He was good in the weekend. Yeah, I think Bath is sort of the standard bearers at the moment. I think for Bath, interesting enough, is obviously I think for them, I think they're probably looking obviously to go back to back, but I think they're trying to get themselves and see how deep they can go in Europe. I think that's probably
Yeah.
Johan next big venture. I think that's what they're looking at doing.
They've got the squad. Like it's not a thing about like, do they have the depth? Like they've got a great 20. I mean, we've seen now the weeks before they got Thomas Dutour and Finn Russell back, like they were more than capable of doing it. They've also been able to like, when they won the Prem Cup, they showed that they do have the youngsters as well. So they haven't, yeah. I would be disappointed if Bath, I mean, they didn't even qualify for the knockouts last time. They
Yeah.
need to at least be in the quarterfinal, if
Yeah.
not a semi-final with the squad. Like they're too strong for that. Yeah, Northampton don't have a crazy comeback game this weekend at least because they've been like just giving games away at times as the last few weeks. Top 14 is sort of chugging along as well. Basically, the rule is no away wins. Castres getting the only away win this weekend. Toulouse rash Bordeaux, but Bordeaux, like, I think Bordeaux, like, fourth team, like, basically the under 21s there. So, yeah, not much to discuss there. And then, NPC have basically all their wins from the home games and the quarterfinals. So, yeah, we'll see how Canterbury and Otago go. They the top two seeds. Cool. So just in terms of like other news items, we saw Carter Gordon has signed back with the Rugby Australia. They bought him out of his contract. I think it's called the Gold Coast Titans. So he's been bought out. He's going to come back. I think he's actually eligible to play in the November tour already. It's number 10 is such a weird spot for Australia because I don't think Gordon was that good when he was there in 2023. He's kind of in the same boat as Lola Seal and I guess Tom Liner, where you're just like, "Mm, is he that good? I don't know, but it's good, I guess, to have the options because they literally were relying on James O'Connor. But yeah, it's a big investment for them, and obviously it's a sign that the good times are coming. But I'm just also wondering, like, does this help anything? Because now Gordon is also coming back to the Reds where Liner plays. So now you also now you're taking away game time from both of them. Like, why didn't Gordon go to the Force or to the Brumbies?
Yeah, I think that's the weird thing. Well, with the Force, you got Ben Donaldson, but I think he's injured. But also when he is available, like doesn't look like Josh Wood rates him at 10.
Yeah.
10 is such a problematic position for the Wallabies. It kind of just feels like because I see like because now O'Connor's out, and then it's like, and Carter Gordon's come back in the mix. I think the frustrating thing with Carter Gordon was, when he came on board, short glimpses, but also I feel bad for him because also Carter Gordon came in that mess that Eddie Jones made in 2023. And he was one of the few bright-ish sparks of that mess. And then we thought, okay, cool, maybe it's someone new. Maybe he can go in the jersey. And he's like, no, I am out of here. I'm going to go play some league. So I'm keen to see under this new regime how he looks because because I can see the frustration with George Schmidt because it's contained Ed Mead and then it's James O'Connor because he goes to experience and then Malolas here hasn't played a test match this year and Tom Liner sort of was your starting lines 10 and then got injured so but he also didn't like kind of did enough so they've got to find an answer to this and I think Carter Gordon for me from what I've seen in the liners and sort of the Edmund is probably the better of those three. And then Lolesio is probably in the same-ish level as Lolesio. But again, we haven't seen him play a test match since 2023. So I'm curious to see how he goes. They've obviously paid all that money to get him back. Um, I think the next one is obviously getting Big Marky Mark to come back, which looks like he could be back next year, which is, again, then they'll probably have literally the second or third. Well, it'll be France, Springboks, and Australia in terms of the best back three in world rugby if you get Marky Mark back. And then
Yeah.
now Wakatawasi. Yo, I try every because you got him.
You haven't had practice for 3 years now.
Yeah, like it's him, it's Nagatawasi. Yeah, how do you say it? You always tell me.
Now Akani Tawase.
Yeah, now
Use another thing.
Naya kind of wanted Tawase on one wing, Jorgensen and Rart is as good as any back three.
Yeah.
World rugby. And I think especially when you look at Ramos, Peno, LBB, Colby, Kirtley, and Williams at 15 or Fassi. Guys, people have forgotten about Cody Lawrence. Mustn't forget about that guy. I was saying to people though, like Ethan Cook has been cooking. Like I was like, yo, this is our lemon for the future. Like this is the guy. I'm like, hey, don't forget Kirtley's right here. It's sometimes we quick to forget. Like, don't forget about Kirtley. Jeepers. Um, but yeah,
Not
so
everyone's Books, not everyone's Jasper Visa. Like you can't just be unavailable and your stocks
yeah,
improve. Like you
yeah,
need to make sure you're in
yeah,
there.
some guys stop being injured at the wrong time. Jody's gone. Um, but like, yeah, I think so. With Australia, like, that's the thing. Again, it's all again. How many games is Skelton available and Rob Valentine? I think that makes a massive difference. I'm still flipping pissed off that I just thought they'll take one game again over the Wallabies. I mean, on the All Blacks. Talking about the All Blacks as well. Their squad, All Blacks squad never like it never fails to like flatter at the moment. I know they've got that big Grand Slam tour coming up now. I don't think they're gonna get the Grand Slam. I think either England or Ireland beats them. Oh, I mean, England can't get any closer. They've got to get this job done over there. So I think England or Ireland beats them, and then my dream is for them to lose to Scotland as well. But then it means Gregor Townsend stays longer. Yo, mm-mm-mm.
You guys are you Scott, you Finn Russell fans might make him the GOAT if he beats New Zealand and he's the first one to do it. So yeah, we can't live in that world actually. I actually did see that the Wallabies did announce their squad a few hours before we recorded. So basically, the big outs are no Tate McDermott, no Tom Wright. Obviously, they're all injured, and no Lalacio as well. They have Gordon is in, Kalani Thomas is in, Aiden Ross is in. Obviously, James Slipper's retired. So it's a pretty decent squad. Obviously, Will Skelton will probably be added later when, when La Rochelle allows him to be added. Yeah, and it's a tough tour for their Cooks. They've got
Yeah.
5 games. They play Japan, then I'm trying to see what the order is here. So it's Japan first, then it's France, then it's Ireland. Sorry, it's Japan, then England, then Italy, then Ireland, then France. So that's 3 of the top 6, England, Ireland, and France. Italy, obviously, we know they've been up and down, but they're a stronger side than they've been. Japan's actually been improving the last few games. Yeah, I mean, geez, obviously they were a bit of a disappointment or disappointed now in the last games in the Players World Cup. But Cooks, those 5 games, what are they aiming at? What's a pass mark for them?
You got to knock off like I think they did the England one last. They got to knock off like someone like Ireland as well. Like I don't think they beat France. Like I think 3 out of 5 minimum. So that means that you've got to if you're not beating England, you got to knock off one of the other two best. I think 3 out of 5 is the pass mark.
Yeah. Yeah, I think 3 out of 5 is quite decent. Yeah, 3 out of 5 pass mark, 4 is great, 5 obviously is fantastic. All Blacks, on the other hand, they announced their squad. I think the big news for them, they have Tafita Afileo that's come into their squad. I mean, just helping with their props because Lomax is out, he's injured. Tupuvai's injured, Otham is injured, Narawa's injured. Yeah, they've got a lot of players out. And yeah, they've got a Grand Slam tour that they're doing now. It's Ireland and Chicago, then Scotland, then England, then Wales. Yeah, obviously, yeah, it's so weird with Razor. Like you've said, he's flattered to deceive, I think, in a lot of ways. And I don't think they still know what they want to do with their team. We've talked about this a few times. That Ireland game, I think, is almost like a swing match, like it was last year when they played Ireland. Like they win against Ireland, I think things are fine. Even if they lose to England, you know what? You can't get Grand Slams all the time. But if they lose to Ireland, ooh, I think things really heat up.
Yeah.
Like they need to win, obviously, at least one of Ireland and England. That's assuming they don't lose and have historical losses to Scotland or Wales. Because, like you say, I think you always say this, Cooks, you can't always be the coach that does the first
Yeah.
loss to some. You can't be always creating records.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like the Ireland game is kind of is that big swing. I just think like with them is like with the Razors again. Like I just don't know if this is the Razor type squad. I just feel like
Mm.
the stamp on the side it's a weird one. I think the frustrating thing for me with All Blacks, I'm sure with Razor is there's a high ceiling in terms of the guys they can like when they can hit a stride for 40 minutes, but then geez, they can also fall apart. And I just feel like there's certain games or in the big game, like their best performance probably is the one against Ireland last year. Um, like or very, very good. But again, that's backs against the wall. This is our streak. This is what we stand for. And you're like, okay, like this is like who we are, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can't always have to rally on them. Then they do find ways to win games but it's always flattering to deceive. And that's why I said, I just think they're like, like I know they're sort of like in the top 3 at the moment, but I think because obviously, I mean, ranking points. And I just think like, yeah, they're just a side for me that are, they're just a decent-ish side that can
Mm.
turn it on. Like, I think them and Ireland are like in the same WhatsApp group and even like, it's just like I think Ireland's sort of aging the other way, the All Blacks as well. Like again, like it's like the depth doesn't scare you. Um, like but the problem is like the thing just between them and like maybe like probably like say in England for example is that they have just the one or two unreal world class players that they can still win your rugby game and mask sort of the big deficiencies they have. Like Audie will do something massive, Jordy Barrett will do something massive, or Baron Barrett will change the game in his head. That's what they do have, and my worry is that like it gets them out of jail. You can get them out of jail maybe like against like in a big game like when they go on tour. Now I'm like it can potentially get them out of jail against England or like, but I don't think you can do it against Ireland a week or like against Ireland or back to back against Scotland. It'll always get them out of jail. They haven't beaten the All Blacks before. They some teams kind of get in their own way. Like the Wallabies sometimes when they play the All Blacks, they just get in their own way, and the All Blacks obviously they still got enough quality to hurt you. Like the pass mark for them is a grand slam. Like they do is this Irish side is not scary enough for you. Like you're going, oh, they should definitely win. But there's a revenge factor. England, for me, for England again, we say it. This is the benchmark for them again. They have to beat the All Blacks to sort of carry on the momentum they've been building. Their side is coming along. So England's the big one. England for me, that's the one they probably talk like they have to beat. I think they just have to beat New Zealand. And I think they will do it. I think New Zealand will beat. I think the All Blacks will beat Ireland and lose to England. That's sort of they'll come back with sort of one loss.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think though with I don't know if he needs it also kind of feels like he needs the wins before he really goes into like making the changes, which is weird because
You're gonna get
he's
fired
not
before you,
winning
you get
football.
to the changes.
I don't I don't know what his plan is. But yeah, like
But worry, tell her like like they come here next year, for example. This hasn't changed. Like I'll be if they come next year, this face or the All Blacks, when they're coming for this tour. It has to be 2-0 before we get to the third game, and then from there we can do whatever we want. Like this,
yeah.
like again, like that's my thing. Is like this current irritation with All Blacks. Like I'm like we have to be up 2-0 against them, and don't make it a 1-1 humdinger for no reason. Like, but with the Razor, I'm also like just feel like just put your stamp on the side, make the changes you want to make before it's too late. And don't because I'm not reading a Scott Robertson book in 15 years time when he puts a book and goes like, I just felt like I should have put my stamp on the when I had the team book podcast topic. No.
Yeah, don't wait until it's too late for that. I think look, the last bit of news is we've obviously been hearing rumblings about R360 and that being started, Mike Tyndall and the boys are all involved with that. And the rugby unions, or at least eight of the like main rugby unions, made a statement saying basically you can't play for the national team if you choose to sign for R360. So that's South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, France, England, Ireland, and Scotland. I guess Wales, they missed that email in their maybe they're hard to, 'cause sometimes when you don't subscribe to Gmail, they say your storage is too full. Maybe that's what happened with Wales, for example. But yeah, obviously we'll see what happens with the R360. I'm still very skeptical of even sort of launches, but yeah, this makes it yeah, this is making it sound like more like a fire festival than something that's gonna be competing with the URC or the top 14 anytime soon.
So it's so weird in the base though, like when I make this the Formula One over rugby, I was like, what you get what terrible selling point is that? Like I don't want to watch one team in Miami, one team in Sydney, one team in I get it. Like, obviously like see like the expansion things like I mean Wales first of all they can't say no to anything. The more their players get money elsewhere, the better it is for them. So they're just like, well, man, if you play Wales, like if you also play Cape Town Tens and we'll pick you for the Six Nations, like it doesn't matter. Like just let us know what you was but like do you know what frustrates me with this damn rebel league? Like not rebel leagues, but this like breakout things. You're like, we got our own issues here. Now you guys want to create more leagues. And Mike Tunnel's like, like this is what we're going to do, like create more leagues and make the game global. Let's fix the one that we can't make global now. This one here. Not add other things. Like we're not going to play him, like, oh, it's been asking Miami, Sydney. I'm like, can we just, let's fix this one now. The money you got, put it in here so you can fix the calendar and make it global, like that way. Like maybe fix the league in the States, make it viable because the World Cup's going there in 2021. But no, you want us to play the Formula One of rugby and do all these other things. Let's maybe find a way to find a global calendar so we can plow money into the domestic game and people can watch there. And then I'm not watching the Springboks play against the All Blacks here, but I'm watching the Stormers play on a Friday. But there's Springboks for the Stormers and Springboks for the Springboks. Like let's
Yeah.
put money into there as opposed to adding now domestic rugby, Mike. Like there's no point in starting a league when the guys are going, if we go there, we're not playing international rugby. So that means the guys are gonna go there, and that's why they'll be like, "Oh, we just signed Israel Folau." Come on, man. Like,
I'm not
okay,
watching 36-year-old Israel Folau, man.
yeah.
Not in Dubai or whatever the
You know
case,
what I mean?
wherever
Like, that's gonna
it
be
is
the thing.
on.
I was just like, "Oh man, Matt Giddo, counter time." Like, okay, okay. Like, who's gonna play in this thing? Hey, guys, look at this. It's Adam Jones back coaching us. Like, of the other side, like, you know what I mean? Like, like what you do, like, oh, Louis Schroeder, he's back. He's going from Poland to the San Francisco Wildcats. No, like, I don't want to watch this. I have better things to do than watch, who's going to play in this thing? Like,
Cooks, who's going to go watch these games in Dubai and
who?
Miami and Madrid?
Exactly. Exactly. So like, you're going to go, like, hey, guys, oh, I'm available. I'm going to Madrid to go watch the Galacticos. It's some random guys. Dan Lancaster, if he doesn't feel like playing for Bath, or I mean playing for Glasgow, he's gonna be there. The question is, who are these guys who are gonna sign for this thing? I saw Henry Slade was speaking about it, saying obviously like there is big money to go, but the passion to play for the National League is great. But it's fine, like cool, we might get a few guys who just sort of out of the international fringe. But like for me, like it's very hard to go like, but like I'm gonna get 100 point, like I'm out, I'm gonna play this league. You're like, it was like I was going to Japan, you
Yeah.
know, like I don't know. Those put money into the game. I know obviously the guys, the top stakeholders make it difficult, but that's what the money, these like rebel money should be going. Because I'm like where you like my things again, where you gonna play this? You got where is this gonna happen? Like who's gonna watch this? Because guys are watching domestic cup now he thinks I'm gonna watch something's happening in Dubai. You must be crazy. Like because I don't have time. Some guys don't have time to watch URC, like Leinster Munster, for example. Now you'd be like, oh, can you believe it? I'm Leinster Munster. I'm not gonna watch it because I'm gonna watch some team from Dubai or some team from the States.
Also, two things. One, the Formula One of rugby, we've done this before. We actually still do this. It's called the World Seven Series. Like
Yeah,
we go to different locations, we play there for the weekend, we leave, all that sort of stuff. And I mean, Sevens has struggled in a lot of their locations to have like a good, consistent turnout for a weekend. The second thing is like when I mean they I think it was the Guardian or maybe the Times had this article saying like what the pitches for the players. They said you get paid like a lot of money, you only play what I think 12 games in the season, but you don't have to live in the place where you're drafted. So essentially you're not going to practice with this team. So Antoine Dupont, if you are now selected by the Cape Town Wildcats or whatever the case is, you don't have to live in Cape Town. Don't worry. You can just come in on Monday, go play, and then leave. So we're gonna watch eight Barbarians teams every week, basically. Like I can kind of see this maybe for the women's game. Like this will be cool. Obviously, I think unions are
yeah,
clearly not paying enough. If this is like almost like an end of season thing, like maybe in the gaps between like the PWR and the internationals, and they're here
yeah,
for like 2 weeks, go for it. And
yeah.
this must be done in England or maybe in the US. You can maybe make it work, but not for the men's game. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, Tyler, I agree with you. If this money is going sort of the women's games, and you're sort of going, I lose like women's like the 100, for example, in cricket, like like the men's 100, like it does do well, but then like because so many players are still playing so much cricket in other leagues and domestically, like they're kind of like, oh, if I get a gap, I'll go. Whereas like the women's 100 is stacked with all the best players
Yeah,
in the world. Like they're all there. So like, and the cool thing like with the women's like sort of in rugby, I mean cricket, like all the women's twinnies, like all the best players kind of play because I mean like it's sort of, and like if you're trying to create a buzz, the artist, even like, do for the women's game, for example, like I'm going in between like sort of the league, but finding a gap and going, guys, here's a tournament for 6, 7 weeks. It's in between like like we're gonna play this thing, and I think it will be cool. Guys get team names. Then you spread in the world. One team goes in Cape Town, one team is here, one team is there. And also, again, it's all sort of almost like franchise rugby and for the women's game and going, yeah, then in the States you get to see some of the best players in the world because this team is taking on so obviously travel. Well, they got the money for it. Like that's I think would be cool because I think there's a gap in that market.
Yeah. Hey, Cooks, yeah, well, obviously another week of World Rugby just shooting itself in the foot. Yeah, still trying to figure out things about like, just player load and everything. Maybe that's the thing, the last thing we can finish on is World Rugby did release like this thing that like an agreement that they have with like the top unions, basically trying to regulate player workload in practices and in games. It's quite technical, but essentially it amounts to unions, if they want to participate in the Nations Championship, which pretty much all of them are going to, they have to agree that all their players won't play they either won't play more than 30 games in a season, or they can if they can't play 6 weeks in a row. So you have to have one rest week for every 5 games that you play. So I think this can work if the unions are serious about this and if World Rugby is serious about enforcing this as well. I can see the top 14 laughing their butts off about this already, just being like, oh, 30 games, cute. But this could be maybe the way, and maybe World Rugby just has to be serious, be like, if you fail to do this, you don't qualify for the World Cup, or
Or,
this
or,
player won't be available to you for the World Cup, or something like that. But it's just also complicated because does like a team, does a like an English team, like they have like Exeter has Lenny Guitar, are they responsible for making sure Lenny Guitar plays only 30 games? Or, whose responsibility is that if Iquitar plays all of his Wallabies games, but now is only available for like what, 15 games for Exeter? So those things will still have to be sorted out. But guess it's a good idea. It's somewhere a step in the right direction. It probably can only be done well if there's a global season. That's another conversation for another day. But World Rugby still has to figure that out.
the problem is, I think the hard part comes. It's the domestic sides. Unfortunately, they've got it
Yeah,
because with the internationals. Let's say, for example, there's 12, 13 test matches a year. 90% of them, if you want to see the kind of everyone wants to see the best players kind of playing. Yeah, there's rotation and guys get moved around, but come big season tournaments, you kind of want to see Lenny Guitar playing 10 test matches or 11 test matches, 12. That's the kind of norm. But also, again, the international season is staggered in terms of play 2 games, break, play 2 games, break, play 2 games, break. I mean, like in the Autumn Nations Cup, and obviously maybe June is the only ones where you are actually playing 3, 4 weeks in a row. But again, you think
yeah,
and it's sort of like going. But the onus will fall on the domestic side because like the French guys are going Skelton's back. Like, what do you mean? I'm paying him a stupid amount of money. What do you mean I can't play for 6 weeks in a row? I think that's gonna be the big one. I agree with that one. Like if we do like I like that of going even terms. I think four. I think it's 4 in a row. Rest, come back, and then you're sort of going. Okay, cool. But also, he didn't play. Maybe find ways to negotiate. Like, he didn't play. He missed out. Like I said, like Henry Potter, for example, he missed out on the rugby championship, so he
yeah,
immediately played for 4 weeks. He can actually go for maybe a 6 week, six games in a row. But like someone like Sasha, you go, he's had sort of like he's had a full championship, but 80 minutes of full. When it goes domestic, you have to give him a break. Sorry, it's gonna be a week or two's break. I think that's the way, and I think with other sides, it'll all be the same because all the best players playing almost at similar times, and then you almost listening the load, all going like, come preseason, like playoff time, these Oaks must have played almost say like a maximum of this, because that's the maximum games of this, because then they're sort of fresh for the players. Because the thing, one thing now is what hurts the product is guys who are tired come end of season, and
yeah,
when you want them because the way. I mean, even including the Springboks, you want everyone to be at full cylinder come April, end of March, April, May,
Yeah.
and top 14, obviously July, like and forever, like. But that's when you want the guys operating. But if guys are tired, then it kind of like, oh, like I just want to see the ending go well. So that's I think you gotta get those terms and regulations right because you want to be put in a situation like we're like in football, like in soccer, where it's just like the guys at the start of the season like a house on fire, and then as the season ends, the guys sort of just drop, 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 drop. The standard's gonna drop, and every game ends 1-0 because guys are tired. And I want rugby to fall in that same trap. I think it's a step in the right direction. Hopefully, that next direction is like, oh, guys, global calendar. Then we can monitor it properly, as opposed to the Wallabies are playing. But at least they try. We can always bash World Rugby. They sometimes they do well. We can give them a 2 thumbs up. Try.
Two thumbs up, they tried.
Try it. Next week we know they're gonna do something stupid. Those guys. We we're doing nonsense for no reason.
Folks, let's at least, yeah, like you say, let's celebrate the small victories. Okay, that is everything. We have covered pretty much most of the competitions happening around the world. There's still a full weekend of domestic rugby happening all over, from the URC to the Prem to the top 14 to the MPC to the Pro D2. And then we're pretty much we now less than 2 weeks away from the first November International happening in mid-October, because the Australians are playing Japan. So, just throwing that in there as well. So lots to look forward to. You know where to come for all your rugby updates, and that is Rugby Bits. Follow us on social media channels. Like, share, subscribe to this podcast on Spotify and on YouTube. Make sure that you share this podcast with all your friends as well. And you know where to come for breakdowns and analysis of what happens on the weekend. So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Yes, guys.